Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us, as well as Hotel TV, where applicable, and on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. A fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes, and make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And our friends over at Vacation Buddies giving away a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to a very simple trivia question, if so, call the number I give you right after I read the question and claim your 2 free nights right here in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. Here's the question. Which of these 3 is the home to the tallest building in America? Is it A, New York, B, Chicago, or C, Los Angeles? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri, if you know the answer to that simple trivia question. So guess what? Give them a call right now. If you know the answer, 888-576-5777. Call now. And it's that time of the season when the NFL awards start to come out. And, of course, it's championship weekend, I suppose, in the AFC and the NFC after the alleged divisional games. And I say alleged because, boy, it sure seemed... Show me the money! Yeah. It sure seemed to me like a little bit of money count was going on. Oh, yeah. That's right. A little bit of money. So I guess my question is, how much money was bet on the games? How much was, I don't know, maybe, possibly directed towards certain personnel? I don't know. Maybe some. Who the hell knows? Maybe I'm just inventing everything. This is just for entertainment purposes only, folks. But again, of course, I think the games are highly compromised. But then again, now we have the charade, or in my opinion anyway, the alleged NFL awards. Now, I wonder, how does that work? If you have a scripted league, it's just hypothetical, of course. If you have a scripted league and you have essentially a puppet ceremony at the end of it just to sort of legitimize the league itself, that's why they have the big game, right? Well, I'm wondering, at what point did this become, I should say, at one point, could one imagine that a league could get so corrupt that everything and anything seemingly has been determined already? Why do I say that? Because if you look at the video that's out there, it is compelling. That's my opinion. But then again, now you have these alleged NFL awards, and of course you have the finalists and so forth and blah, blah, blah. But according to Fox Sports, they say Christian McCaffrey is the first player to be a finalist for 3 Associated Press NFL awards in the same year, joining Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, and Matthew Stafford in the running for the Associated Press 2025 NFL Most Valuable Player Award. McCaffrey and May are also finalists for Offensive Player of the Year. And McCaffrey and Lawrence are among the finalists for Comeback Player of the Year. Now, of course, the winner will be announced at the NFL Honors on February 5, which I will likely be there, and right down the street at the Ditka and Jaws Cigars with the Stars event, a great charity event. In fact, we're going to have somebody on regarding that event at some point in the week. And I tell you what, folks, this is a great, great cause. Check them out at Cigars with the Stars. That's Ditka and Jaws Cigars with the Stars. Boy, that's good stuff. Anyway, now I'm going to be there likely on February 5th. And of course, they say for the NFL awards, a nationwide panel of 50 media members who regularly cover the league completed voting before the playoffs began. They didn't ask me, but then again, I don't know if they would because of my beliefs on the league itself. Nonetheless. So the votes were tabulated by the accounting firm of so forth and so on. I'm not going to give them any love because, hey, they're not paying me any money. Listen, if they start, show me the money, then maybe I'll call their name out. So if you ever hear me say that kind of thing, it's usually because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to give free publicity to organizations that don't pay up and ante up. Anyway, as far as the most valuable player, Allen. That would be Josh Allen. The reigning MVP threw for 3,668 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, posting a 102.2 passer rating, while leading Buffalo to its 7th straight playoff appearance. He also ran for 14 touchdowns, and the Bills were knocked out of the playoffs conveniently by a ridiculous call. And when I say a ridiculous call, this is one of those reasons that I think the league is compromised, because if you've been living under a rock, you didn't see it, but it was a Josh Allen pass way downfield, and the ball was caught by Mr. Cooks, and he, as I saw it, was down by contact. The ground, he had 2 hands on the ball, and his back touched the ground, and then conveniently, the Denver defender ripped it out of his hands, yet I believe that the receiver was down by contact, which changed everything. Denver would have went on to the AFC Championship game against New England. And guess what? That's not what happened. So all I know is it seemed to me that the fix was in. And of course, I always say it, but show me the money! And I'll show you a call that doesn't belong in the National Football League. So nonetheless, it was Josh Allen he is the current MVP. And the bigger question is he going to get it again? No, he won't get it again. No. There's a different agenda out there, folks, and that's to be seen. Now, Trevor Lawrence helped Jacksonville win 13 games and the AFC South title. He had 4,007 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 12 picked off, and the Jags were eliminated by the Bills in the wild card round. Christian McCaffrey, an all-purpose, he's basically the Swiss Army knife of the National Football League as I see it. An all-pro, ran for 1,202 yards, 10 touchdowns, caught 102 passes, 924 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's a pretty damn good year. And he played a key role in helping, of course, the injury-depleted 49ers win 12 games. Now, Drake May had 4,394 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 picked off. And, of course, we know the Patriots, where they're at right now, are in the AFC Championship game. Now, Matthew Stafford, on the other side, was given a gift by the Chicago Bears. And Stafford led the NFL with 4,707 yards passing, 46 touchdowns, and he threw 8 picks and finished second to May with 109 passing rating. And Stafford was named first-team All-Pro for the first time in a 17-year career. And, of course, typically the quarterback who is named first-team All-Pro wins the MVP. But last year, Josh Allen won MVP after Baltimore star Lamar Jackson was named the first-team All-Pro quarterback. And, of course, that marked the first time in 12 years that the first-team All-Pro did not win. And there's a lot of reasons why that didn't happen. But then again, let's not focus on that. As we look at the focus of moving forward in the National Football League and this puppet show, as I like to call it, of the NFL awards, I mean, look, they're just going through the motions and playing these games out at this point. So what we've seen all season long, through the regular season, better yet through the preseason, the regular season, and in the postseason so far, is we've seen some very exciting games that seem to have some interesting twists at the end, kind of like watching a suspense-filled movie, right? You think you know the ending, but you don't know the ending. But one thing we do know is that at some point, somebody is going to get paid and count their money. Yes, they're going to count all that money. And you know what I'm curious of is, let's play along, and let's say that the league is compromised. How do the players conveniently, or the powers that be, how do they hide their money? I wonder if it goes through numbered accounts. I wonder if it goes to nonprofit organizations in which they run in massive donations. I wonder how that money is distributed and how the lack of information is not disseminated. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Ring Master Sal, live from Las Vegas in the MTV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check out that schedule and tell them the circus sent you. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our radio affiliates, including our friends waking up with us over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, 8 a.m. Monday through Friday in the greater Atlanta market, right down the road, driving home with us, listening in from Columbus, Georgia, all the way through Auburn, Alabama, War Eagle, over to Montgomery, Alabama. That's WAUD 1230 on the AM dial. That is home of the Atlanta Braves. Up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast, those driving between sunny Southern California and fabulous Las Vegas. Listening in on Highway Country Radio 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM, home of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Raiders, and the Sports Circus at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Thanks for joining us there up and down the West Coast. Out to our friends in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, that's home of the 49ers, Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And, of course, everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV where applicable. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks. And also, everybody on rumbling around on the Mars rover. All right. Now, in case you're just tuning in, our friends over at Vacation Buddies giving away a couple of nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you answer a simple trivia question, I'm going to repeat the question in case you're just tuning in. And if you are, answer the question right after I read it to you. And guess what? Call the number, 888-576-5777, and pick up your 2 free nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. Which of these three is home of the tallest building in America? Is it A, New York, B, Chicago, or C, Los Angeles? If you know the answer, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with us, but guess what? Not affiliated with the radio stations, that is. And they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777. Call now. Of course, we give them this super applause because, hey, man, they're giving away a couple of nights. And last I checked, free is the right price, if you know what I mean. That's how I feel about it. Nonetheless, all right. In fact, I should let the laughter go for the NFL awards. All right, we'll give them a round of applause. So we talked about the alleged candidates for Player of the Year. How about Coach of the Year? And so Coach of the Year, you've got some pretty darn good candidates. How about Liam Cohen led the Jags to a 13-4 record and a division title in his first season, a 9-win turnaround for the Jags. Well, guess what? We've got essentially the same argument going on in Chicago with Ben Johnson taking over a haphazard Chicago Bears team that was in the toilet a year ago. And this year, well, it's an entirely different story. Ben Johnson guided the Bears to 11-5 and their first NFC North championship in 7 seasons. Not bad. Not bad. That's a big turnaround. How about Mike McDonald? Led the Seahawks to a 14-3 record and the NFC's number 1 seed. Seahawks host the Rams, we know. Well, guess what? Okay, so you led them and you had some pretty good pieces. And I really wouldn't think that he would be coach of the year. There are some other guys. I would put Ben Johnson ahead of him for sure, because Ben really working with hardly a ball of clay. The Bears couldn't spend any money on defense, so the Bears defense had to be very opportunistic. So I would certainly put Ben Johnson ahead of him. And Liam Cohen, I'll tell you what, right now he might be your leader out of what I've read. Now, Kyle Shanahan, of course, guided the 49ers to 12 wins despite a ton of injuries, but these guys are loaded already. The 49ers are a complete team, and let's face it, even the reserves, it's a very good squad. They have the next man up mentality. And I don't know about coach of the year for Kyle Shanahan because he's already working with a loaded gun. And frankly, that's half the battle right there. If you have the personnel, then you could do something special. If you don't have the personnel, you're not going to be able to get anything done. It's real simple. And so I'm not so sure that I would put Kyle Shanahan in first place. I'd probably put him probably ahead of Mike Macdonald, only because they had to fight through the injuries. And the 49ers played very well this year. And let's face it, 12 wins with a lot of missing pieces is a big deal. Now, Seattle showed me a little bit more, but then again, I don't have a vote in this. I'm just like everybody listening to this. We don't know. We're just kind of peeing on the wind right here. So let's just hope that we don't, pee on our shoes. So as I look at this, I say, all right, well, who's better out there? How about Mike Vrabel? Now, look, he was the coach of the year about 5 years ago. Now, he took the Patriots from worst to first. So the Bears are worst to first. The Patriots worst to first. A 10-win turnaround again. And Liam Cohen did a great job with a 9-win turnaround. Out of these 5 coaches, I would probably argue that Ben Johnson probably did the best turnaround job because he had some offensive pieces, but he had no defense. Whereas Mike Vrabel already had some strong pieces to the puzzle. I would put Mike Vrabel right behind Ben Johnson. I put Liam Cohen right behind Mike Vrabel. I mean, that's your top 3. And then I would say it would probably be McDonald and Shanahan. So really, should it be Ben Johnson? I don't know. I mean, Ben Johnson, he did something very special with his team. Very, very special. And are they in a position to win everything? Well, they were last week. But then again, we saw what happened with somehow magically Caleb Williams threw the ball 35 yards downfield when the Bears only needed 15 yards to get to the field goal line. Think about that. I just want to know, where's the money? Somebody tell me where's the money in that one. Nonetheless, I think Ben Johnson did the best job in this whole Coach of the Year thing. So, frankly, I would probably give it to him. How about Assistant Coach of the Year? Yes, they actually have such an award. So, the Eagles defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, Vikings defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, Broncos defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, Seahawks offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, and Patriots offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels are the finalists. So, Vic Fangio, pretty good defense. A lot of injured pieces. Not going to lie, not the best team in the league for sure. Brian Flores, Broncos? Well, Brian Flores, as the defensive coordinator, got to tell you, that Broncos defense, I had him on my fantasy football team all year long, and boy, they did me right. So, of course, I'm going to be leaning towards the Broncos defense because they really did it. And they, in my opinion, they had probably the best defense despite what the Houston Texans did all year. They statistically had the best defense, but I think Brian Flores' defense probably was, I guess if those two teams played, I would probably give the nod to the Denver Broncos. Because even without Bo Nix, there were games that Brian Flores' defense took the game over. I mean, did they stand a chance against New England? Sure they do. Will they beat them? Sure they won't. So as I look at it, Brian Flores right now, certainly ahead of Vic Fangio. Now, Vance Joseph with Seattle, Seattle's offensive coordinator. I don't know about that. Better yet, strike that. Yeah, that's right. Brian Flores, Broncos. Then we had Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator, Seahawks. Okay, so the Seahawks defense is pretty darn good. Again, you got another defensive guy. You got 3 defensive coordinators so far, and they're all pretty damn good. But I would still put Brian Flores ahead of Vance Joseph and ahead of Vic Fangio. Now, the Seahawks offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, did a magical job with Sam Darnold and the gang. And, of course, they've got, well, arguably one of the top players in the league in their guy Njigba. I think I'm saying his name right. But nonetheless, I think he is a very, very good, versatile player. But they had some good tools. They've got him and Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. I mean, there's a team with a lot of tools. A lot of tools on that Seahawks team. So as offensive coordinator, we don't know. But as defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph did a really good job. So we're going to still put Brian Flores ahead of him. Now, Clint Kubiak with the Patriots, or Clint Kubiak, excuse me, Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. When you look at this, folks, you have to say, did Clint Kubiak really deserve the offensive award, I guess, for the assistant coach of the year? I would argue that the Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels probably will come in second place behind Brian Flores. I think Brian Flores wins the assistant coach of the year, and then it's going to be Josh McDaniels, and then it'll be Vance Joseph. I think that's going to be the order there. And look, you can flip a coin with this. And frankly, I know you could bet on it because there are a couple of apps out there that you could bet who's going to win this, who's going to win that. Then you've got this comeback player of the year. Is it going to be Lawrence McCaffrey? Is it going to be Stephon Diggs? Is it going to be Aiden Hutchinson? Aiden had a pretty good year, but not as big. I mean, look, Dak Prescott even had a good year too. I'm going to argue it's going to be McCaffrey's going to win comeback player of the year. I don't even see how that's even a contest because, again, he did so much on both from a running standpoint and from a receiving standpoint. He is the Swiss Army knife of the NBA, or of the NFL too, if you know what I mean. Back here in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere, folks.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, plus a whole bunch of others. Also, make sure you check out the partners page at thesportscircus.com as well. Lots of great partners over there. And of course, one of our favorites is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. And if you can't get over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. All right. Welcome back to everybody. Again, as I mentioned before, continuing on with these NFL awards that are, in my opinion, a little bit laughable, but some of them are pretty darn good. How about Defensive Player of the Year? Defensive Player of the Year. Now, this is an interesting one because there are some good players, but then there are some exceptional players that aren't even getting any love whatsoever. And you can look at All-Pro defensive end Will Anderson Jr., 12 sacks for the Houston Texans, and was a major part of the NFL's number one ranked defense. Got to tell you, Will Anderson Jr., nice year, real nice year. But what the Houston Texans did was they played good team defense. It wasn't one guy with all the accolades and whatnot. No, it was good team defense from a very well-coached and well-oiled machine. Those guys are good, really good. Of course, I'm using the well-oiled because I always think of the Houston Oilers rather than the Houston Texans. But nonetheless, the Oilers moved up to Tennessee to become the Titans, and they should have kept that oil derrick on their helmet. What a great helmet that was. Nonetheless, Will Anderson Jr., a very good selection for Defensive Player of the Year. But then again, if you select him, you have to select the entire Houston Texans defense. Now, the Broncos defensive end Nick Bonito had 14 sacks for the league's second-ranked defense. Now, the Broncos had a very different style in defense. It was a little bit more individualistic, I should say. And is Nick Bonito really the guy? Is he the poster boy for the Broncos defense? Maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe he isn't. But what I do know is the Broncos defense was solid, a very different defensive scheme than the Houston Texans, but both very, very effective. How about Myles Garrett? You know, they call these guys edge rushers. No, they're defensive ends. All right, get over it. So Myles Garrett as a defensive end, a unanimous choice for All-Pro, set a single-season record. No, he didn't. Because if you look at his last sack, give me a break. That was as bad as Michael Strahan's last alleged sack. As I see it, our former colleague here, Al Bubba Baker, the quarterback breaker and the rib maker, he did the unthinkable way, way, way back when sacks weren't even really tallied back in the day. I think he had 23 sacks or whatnot way back in the day, but they weren't keeping those as an official stat, which is wrong. But the oddity is the NFL acknowledges him to have 131 sacks, being Al Baker. But what they don't acknowledge is Al to be in the 100-sack club or some nonsense like that. The whole thing is stupid. And, we had the same thing with other guys like Jim Jeffcoat. Jim Jeffcoat had 100 sacks. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings for the Dallas Cowboys. How come Jim Jeffcoat is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? How come Leonard Marshall, friend of the show and a big brother to me, how come Leonard Marshall is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? I think I know why, but it doesn't matter what my opinion is. I mean, the guy had, 82 and a half sacks, a couple of Super Bowl rings. He also played with, remember, Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks and Harry Carson, and Leonard was the 4th linebacker in that group. Just a crazy group. I mean, these guys were incredibly good. I mean, if the other 3, and let's face it, Leonard has better numbers than Carson and Carl Banks, they're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How come Leonard Marshall is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? It's just a bunch of nonsense, folks. It's a cat show, and it's what have you done for me lately, and are you dancing to our music or are you not? That's how I see all this stuff. And when you look at these players of the year, Myles Garrett with these 23 sacks, did he have 23 sacks? I don't know. You can say that he did, but when you saw a couple of those, you're like, those weren't sacks. He just tagged somebody when they were down, or they were already down, and somehow, even on Garrett's last alleged sack, somehow he got a sack on Aaron Rodgers. How'd that work? And if you look, Aaron was already essentially down. The whole thing is stupid. And I don't understand how it was counted a sack. And so back to Myles Garrett, okay, 23 sacks. He had 33 tackles for loss. Now, you can't necessarily argue with those. I mean, those were good. 2023 AP Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett's a good player. But the sack record, give me a break. But does he qualify for Defensive Player of the Year? Yeah, he certainly does. How about Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson? Now remember, he's also one of the comeback player of the year guys too. And Aiden plays a very different style of football as well. He's in a different defensive scheme, seemingly one in Detroit that just doesn't show up. I just don't believe that the Detroit Lions are interested in playing defense. It's just my opinion. But then you also have all-pro defensive end Micah Parsons. Now, Micah did not play the whole season for sure. And so he, in his limited time this season, still had 12 and a half sacks in 13 and a half games before tearing his ACL. Let me tell you something. If there's an impact player out on the field right there, Micah Parsons is the guy. He is a game-changing player. And I'm going to say Myles Garrett has a lot of that like Micah Parsons does. I think Micah Parsons is a polished player. Man, the guy is good. And for the Dallas Cowboys to get rid of him, there must have been some things that we didn't know about as the audience in the grand scheme of things, because you're like, well, how the hell would the Dallas Cowboys trade away an all-pro defensive end? How does that work? All right, was it a personality clash? Was it a coaching issue? Who knows? Did Micah Parsons say, I want out? No, he did not say that, as everybody's seen, because there was an interview with him right afterwards, after he had essentially been dealt off to the Green Bay Packers. And the interesting part is that Micah said to the major media, to all the outlets, he said, look, I had no idea that I was going to get dealt off. I thought that I was going to be a lifer here. And so the oddity in this was that for some strange reason, the Dallas Cowboys somehow made him expendable. Now, Micah Parsons is one of those, I wouldn't say he's a generational player, but I got to tell you, he is one of those guys you don't want to let off your team. If he's wearing your colors, you want him to retire wearing your colors. So I just don't understand what happened there, but it's not for me to understand. Now, is he a candidate? Absolutely. Did he have a better year than the other guys? Let's kind of run through this real quick. Did Micah Parsons, in his 12.5 sacks in 13.5 games, everybody else played 17 games. Well, he played 3.5 games less and still had 12.5. Which begs the question, would he have passed Aiden Hutchinson? Probably. He already passed Will Anderson. He likely would have passed Nick Bonitto. So now it comes down to Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett with all those sacks, but for a bad team, a really bad team. So is there more emphasis put on the defense, on a defensive star on a bad team? Well, the Browns were actually a good defensive team, but they were terrible offensively. So is there more emphasis put on a defensive end on a bad team or a good team? Think about that. Look at the competition. They both played essentially the same competition because they play in the National Football League. Who had a bigger impact on the team? That's up for debate because the Cleveland defense was pretty good. All of these defenses, except for the Detroit Lions, they were all pretty good. The Green Bay Packers defense got markedly better by adding Micah Parsons. The Dallas Cowboys defense was okay. I say okay, and then I hesitate. Because remember, at one point they had the worst defense. They were tied with the Cincinnati Bengals at essentially the bottom of defense in the National Football League. However, when Micah Parsons went to Green Bay, I'll tell you what, things looked very, very different for the Green Bay Packers defensively. And I would argue from an impact, Micah Parsons had a bigger impact on Green Bay's defense than Myles Garrett did on the Browns' offense. And I say that by having 3 and outs and turning the ball over. The thing is, the whole game changed with Micah Parsons in a position. Everybody knew where Myles Garrett was going to line up, so all you had to do was essentially play away from him. But Micah Parsons was all over the field, seemingly. He was on both sides. He was in the middle. I believe that the Defensive Player of the Year should go to Micah Parsons and not Myles Garrett, Nick Bonitto, Will Anderson Jr., or Aiden Hutchinson. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Back here with Offensive Player of the Year in just a few moments on The Circus.
Stop it! Stop it!
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportcircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMTV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out the store at thesportscircus.com's website. Lots of great items there. Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, sweatpants, sweat coats, blankets, pillows, coffee mugs, travel mugs, all kinds of cool items with the Sports Circus logo on them. And they can be found, of course, there's a tab right at the top of the sportscircus.com. It says store. Click on it, and there's all kinds of great items over there. And of course, with the clever Sports Circus logo on it. If you don't understand the logo, email info@thesportscircus.com, and I'll tell you all about it. And again, if you mention my name, Ringmaster Sal, you'll get an extra 10% off your first order. Of course, a shameless plug for the circus. It's a circus, and we prove it every day. And that was coined by our good friend and longtime producer, Colonel Bucky. He said one time, way back in June of 2017, he was just shaking his head because there was such disorganization. And look, I don't have any notes. I don't have a pre-prepared program. No. It's just whatever comes to mind. Sometimes we trip over our words. Sometimes we don't. Kind of like sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. But nonetheless, when it comes to the chaos that was created in the studio, Colonel Bucky was just like, what in the world? I've never seen anything like this. He said, well, yeah, you are a circus and you prove it every day. And so that came from Jim Colonel Bucky Dallas. All right, we always got to make sure that we don't edit the credit from anybody. Well, because then really it's not any fun. Now, is it? We're supposed to let everybody know who said what. That's kind of like the idea of responsible reporting. All right, back with these NFL awards for the, in my opinion, scripted league. You have the Offensive Player of the Year. Now, this was kind of fun. And you've got some pretty damn good players. Of course, we mentioned Christian McCaffrey, Swiss Army knife of the league, but you got Puka Nacua, who is one hell of a player. Now, if you don't know anything about this guy, folks, you better do your homework, because Puka Nacua is, again, he's like Christian McCaffrey. He's one of those very, very exciting players in the National Football League, and you gotta like him. He's just one of those guys. Now, if you don't know about him, again, go look him up. I mean, look, this guy, he's basically the all-purpose back. He'll be a receiver. I mean, he's 24 years of age, and he's from right here in fabulous Las Vegas, the ninth island of Hawaii. In fact, his real name is Makea. So he goes by Makea Puka Nakua, football wide receiver for the LA Rams of the National Football League, according to Wikipedia. Now, I know this, but nonetheless, for all those people that may not know who he is, you've been living under a rock. They say he played college football for the Washington Huskies and BYU Cougars and was selected by the Rams in the 5th round. Hard to imagine this guy is a 5th round pick. That's crazy. All right, so he gets the super applause because he's one of those guys. And listen, folks, if you don't know, again, about him, you better go read about him. He's a local guy from here in Las Vegas. He plays wide out, but then again, he kind of plays everywhere else. So Puka Nakua is up for Offensive Player of the Year, along with Bijan Robinson. Now, if you don't know who this guy is, he is one hell of a running back, despite he came from Ohio State. This guy is good. He plays for the Atlanta Falcons. And man, this guy is really something special. You got to see him. Then there's Jackson Smith-Njigba, who plays for the Seattle Seahawks. Another very good offensive player. And let's face it, even Drake May has joined the party for Offensive Player of the Year. And you could make an argument for each one of these people. However, Nakua and Smith-Njigba were unanimous selections for All-Pro. And so apparently this whole idea, if you're the selection for an All-Pro, then you have the inside track for the Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Valuable Player. So essentially the All-Pro is one of those, I guess, precursors to it. But when you look at it, you say, well, wait a minute, the other guys were pretty damn good too. I mean, I would argue that Bijan Robinson was probably the best back in the league. I don't see any argument with that whatsoever. And I would say McCaffrey is probably the best Swiss Army knife in the league. And Drake May has certainly earned his stripes this year. But Nakua has done some special things for sure. And with Smith-Njigba, I don't think that he was as valuable to his team than Puka Nakua was. I think Nakua was clearly the leader for that Rams team. And in the same way that you can say that for Caleb Williams for the Chicago Bears. But Nakua led the league with 129 catches, 1,715 yards, 10 touchdowns for the Rams. And of course, Smith-Njigba caught 119 passes, 10 less than Nakua, and led the league with 1,793 yards, which is about, 70, we'll call it 68 yards more than Nakua. And he also had 10 touchdowns. So if you put these two head-to-head, the bigger impact on their team, I would argue, was still Nakua. Now, Bijan Robinson, who was an all-pro running back, he led the NFL with 2,298 yards from scrimmage. That's a lot. Ran for 1,478. The balance, of course, were 79 catches and 820 yards, 4 scores. That's a one hell of a year. And so as you look at these, you say, well, geez, is Robinson in the same as Nakua? Yeah, but Nakua is still playing today, and he is proven to be more valuable to his team, just like Smith-Njigba has proven to be more valuable to his team. But I would put Nakua as that number one Offensive Player of the Year, which, frankly, I don't see how it goes any other way. I just don't. Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, I should say. The New York Football Giants have their defensive end, Abdul Carter, a very good one. The Seattle Seahawks defensive back, Nick Emanwarmi, and the Falcons defensive end, James Pierce Jr. Now also add Cleveland Browns linebacker Carson Schlesinger. And finally, Atlanta Falcons safety Xavier Watt. These are the finalists. And as you look at this group, James Pierce is overshadowed in Cleveland by Myles Garrett. I don't know about Carson Schlesinger in Atlanta, and I say that because I believe being on a team with a mediocre defense is not going to get you noticed. Xavier Watt, I'm not sure if that's going to get you noticed either. And so when you look at these guys, you have to have, you probably say that it was the Seattle Seahawks defensive back that was probably the most valuable defensive rookie of the year player. So we'll call him defensive rookie of the year. That's Nick Emenwari. That guy will probably win the defensive player of the year. Abdul Carter had a great year, but we're going to give it to the Seattle Seahawks player. Offensive rookie of the year, Giants quarterback Jackson Dart should be a complete runaway with this. Although Bucks wideout Emeka Egbuka was a very good one. Patriots running back Trayvon Henderson, a very good one. Panthers wide receiver McMillan was pretty good. Saints quarterback Show is not ready. This one goes to Jackson Dart, and it should be an absolute runaway. Jackson Dart was clearly the best rookie. He was certainly the offensive rookie of the year at this point. So if you don't have any Jackson Dart football cards, any of those rookie football cards, look for the Bowman Chrome University card. If I'm not mistaken, that's a 2020, I think it's a 2023 rookie. That's his first card when he was still at Ole Miss. And I think that's the one that I've got. In fact, I think I've got a couple of those. So if you know anything about college football, if you keep close tabs of college football, go find yourself a Jackson Dart Bowman Chrome first card of his, because those are the ones usually that are worth the best. I mean, even if you're looking like, for example, in college basketball and whatnot, in the WNBA, even Caitlin Clark's first card, her Bowman Chrome University first card. I have one of those. Got a couple of those. Got to tell you, folks, those are the ones that are worth, like for her, for example, quite a bit, besides getting all those crazy parallels and the autograph cards and crap like that. But I'm just saying, you could still pick up a Jackson Dart rookie card for relatively cheap. Now, I've been collecting cards for a very, very long time. Still today have probably, 100,000 cards, some crazy amount of cards. But it's fun for me, and it keeps my finger on the pulse of what's going on with these players, and pick your favorite league and whatnot. And I have to say that collecting cards as a little kid, it's a very different situation today as it was back then, because back then you collected them because you collected them and you weren't trying to turn it into a business. A lot of kids are turning cards into businesses. A lot of grown-ups do it. Even, hell, one of my cousins, they went from going to college to now they're a full-time baseball, football, basketball, hockey card dealer. That's all they do. And it's crazy how the card business has evolved, but it's still cheap right now if you can get yourself a Jackson Dart rookie card. And I would still argue the same thing about some of those defensive players of the year. And right now, I know the Drake May cards are getting really expensive because I keep my eye on those. And the Myles Garrett cards, forget it. Puka Nacua, you can still get some of those relatively cheap. And as soon as Puka Nacua wins the Offensive Player of the Year award, then his cards are going to jump. I got a whole bunch of those Bijan Robinsons and the Jackson Smith and Jigba cards, but Christian McCaffrey cards are really expensive now because he's been around for quite some time. You could still get the Robinson cards, like I said, with the Bowman Chrome University. You could still get those relatively cheap, just like with Puka Nacua. So, folks, if you're a card collector, have some fun with it. Just, I don't know, learn about the players. If you don't know the players, don't just buy the cards to turn right around and sell them. I mean, it's nice to get to know what you have, who you're trading in. Think about it back in the day. You got cards because you're a fan of the sport, or as a kid, I wanted to play the sport, so I collected all those baseball cards. Tell you what, that drove me to professional baseball growing up. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal. We'll see you in 53 hours. No, we'll see you in 72 hours. No, we'll see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.